Hello, Gemma.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Yay!
you. Hallelujah. Hang on, I'll put my
I'm so sorry about that, everyone. All right, party people, we're live.
Woo! You wouldn't believe the panic that's been going on.
Yeah, I was panicking slightly, everyone, but we're live. Yay! So,
Okay.
welcome to our webinar with Melinda on creating a brand that's authentically you. My name is Gemma and I'm the Business and Relationship Manager at Formula Botanica. In case you don't know who we are an accredited and award-winning online organic cosmetic science school. And you can find out more about us on formulabotanica.com or drop us an email at hello@formulabotanica.com. So without further ado, let's welcome Melinda. We've done a few webinars together now, Melinda.
We have indeed.
We have indeed. And so let's jump straight in. So we're talking about creating a brand that's authentically you. So what is the first thing that people should think about when they're starting a skincare brand?
Well, the first thing that people should think about is their intention. What do they want and why are they doing this? That's really important, because I think a lot of people just drift into it. They discover a passion that they've got for skincare, and then all their friends love what they're making, and then they're thinking, well, we ought to run a business with this. This could be the route to working for ourselves. But they don't properly think through what's involved. And I think that's critical right at the beginning.
Okay.
The first thing that you should look at really is what your circumstances are. I mean, I mentor skincare entrepreneurs, and they come to me in all shapes and sizes and with all sorts of ambitions. But it's kind of really, really important that that they understand quite how much commitment is involved.
Yes.
So you cannot start a business without any money, or at least you can't start this sort of business without any money, because skincare requires some initial investments. You've got to create your products or get them formulated. You've got to buy stock. You've got to get your website done. You've got to get your testing done. It's no small feat it's not like baking a few cookies and getting out there and selling them. There is a lot of foundation work involved. Yeah. So the guys that come to me that make it have a very realistic view of what's involved. Yeah. So in deciding to do this, you should first of all look at your situation. You should decide what you love and what you don't love, and you should look closely at your situation. So if you're working full time, which a number of people that come to me are, and it's never a good idea to quit your day job until you've got your own business up and running. You have to be really good at time management, or you have to organize your time so that you give yourself specific time to work on your business, specific time for your other job, and also family and me time. Because if you try and just do everything at once, and certainly if you've got a passion and you're driven, the temptation is to just sort of go for it. You can get yourself completely overwhelmed. So you need to compartmentalize your life a bit. If you have a load of kids and a job and no money in the bank, and a passion for skincare, then building a brand, which is where the real money and resources are needed, is probably not right for you. In fact, I would say it's absolutely not right for you. But there are lots of other things, if you've got a passion for skincare, and particularly if your passion is around formulating, that you can do to make a very nice living.
Yeah.
So, for example, the world is desperately short of great natural formulators. So you could set yourself up, you could put relatively limited resources into setting yourself up as a formulator. Yeah. The other thing that I would suggest you look at is launching a one product brand. you can do that hugely successfully. You've got to learn an awful lot about marketing. But if you want an online business and you all you actually need is one product. So that cuts out a huge amount of the expenses. But people have, I think what happens is they look out there, they decide they want to start a business. So what do? The first thing you do is you go and look at other businesses. And that's actually the last thing you should do, because if you're going to do this, this is about you. It should be about your heart and soul. It should be about your original concept and your unique take on that. Yeah.
Okay. So, but do you think it's worth looking at businesses that might be in your area, like area?
I actually don't. I really, really don't. I think people spend far too much time doing research and not doing their business.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, if I tell you, because you have a sort of stereotype image of what your business should look like. So if I told you the number of people that come to me and said, I want a May Lindstrom type website. You know, I want my brand to look like May Lindstrom. I mean, there's another end to this. It's, I want to be Body Shop. You know, I want to create a huge, huge international brand. And they look at the other brands out there and they try and follow the pattern. They try and break down what these guys have done and what they haven't done. But I mean, the fact of the matter is we're living in such exciting times. Retail is really, really difficult right now, but there is absolutely no reason why you can't create something totally unique and even find a unique way of getting it out there.
Okay.
So, you know, there's lots of people now that are setting up hubs for indie brands. You know, this is another thing you can do with low funds, is to sell other people's brands. But you need to understand what your talents are. So, you know, it's like we look for a name, and so many people come to me and say, well, it's, you know, so-and-so naturals or so-and-so, you know, skincare or whatever. That is so boring. You know,
yeah.
You know, and the Body Shop, the idea of building this great big sort of edifice to natural skincare is also so outdated. You know, life is, people make purchasing decisions on a completely different basis this day. You know, they communicate a different way. Yes, and it's about understanding the flow, understanding what's happening out there, and going and presenting something that is completely original in a way that's completely original.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also taking serious account of what your budget is, what your environment is. I mean, have you got enough resources to make product yourself? If you haven't, and you're going to have to contract manufacture, then there's lots of decisions you need to make around that, because you're going to get yourself involved in a lot of numbers. You've got to, you know, buy in a lot of volume. You know, have you got the time, which seems to be the biggest issue, is people getting overwhelmed. And they also need to have a realistic view of how long it will take to get out there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, my program is 16 weeks, but by the end of 16 weeks, I would have expected my clients to have their brand, their product, their marketing plan, their social media, their website, all those things, but they won't actually be out there selling yet. It's going to take them a lot longer, because some of the tests take 3 months. So you know, this is a good year, 18 months scenario, and I think it's important that people are realistic about that.
Yeah, I think that's an important point.
Go on. I'm talking over you, Gemma, as always.
And we were at the conference this weekend. Melinda was at our conference last year, and we spoke to Dominica and Elsie from Clean Beauty Co, who were back again talking about their brand. And do you remember, Melinda, they pitched their ideas to you on a panel the year before?
Yeah.
And I think it's taken them about 18 months, they said, to get off the ground. So they didn't actually get a salary for 18 months.
Absolutely. And there's something else that I'd like to try and get into people's heads, because a lot of people will say, certainly come to me, and they'll be passionate about putting their range together and all the creative bits and getting the branding right and getting the products right and getting the packaging and all this stuff, which is enormous hard work, but actually fun compared to what it takes to go out there. And a lot of them put so much energy into the early bits of their concept that they forget, and this should be your starting point,
okay,
that a business is about selling. So if you ask the question to a lot of guys out there listening, they will say, "Oh, I hate selling." I hate selling. But business is about selling. And what I would suggest that you do, you can't get away from it. I mean, you can employ someone that will be very costly to sell your products for you, but you need to believe in what you're doing enough to be able to go to people and feel as if you're giving them an opportunity to have your range, rather than feel that you're taking money off them and they're doing you a great favor to take it.
Right.
So one little exercise that really separates the men from the boys is to take a product, any product, nothing to do with skincare, before you start with your concept, and go out there and sell it. Actually go out there live and ask people for money for something that you've got. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, we did not to keep banging on about the conference, but obviously we're fresh off.
Wonderful. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I watched it virtually.
Well, we had such a lot of people. Well, we challenged people to go live and to make themselves visible as a part of selling your business and selling your product. And we had Kirsty and Luke there from Pink's Boutique, who take a lot of time and effort in being there, selling, promoting their business, and that's really what drives it forward. I mean, it makes sense, really, isn't it?
Well, that is their business. I mean, your business, because that's the other decision that you should make very, very early on when you're thinking about what style of business you want, and that is, who are you? What circles do you move in? Who do you know? Because your market could actually be right under your nose. So, you might begin with a great idea. You might see a gap in the market, and the gap in the market is not organic, able to eat them skin food products. It really isn't. It's got to be so much more sophisticated now to actually succeed. It's, there's plenty of room in the market, but it requires people with great ideas and unique concepts.
Let's Melinda, carry on.
No. So the other thing to think about is, okay, so what is my niche? And the easiest niche to pick is yourself. It's not the most original niche to pick, but it's yourself simply because you understand the language of your peers, you understand their pain points, you probably know what they're looking for. The most successful niches are the smaller ones, but I suppose the biggest one everyone goes for is anti-aging. Well, if you want to tackle older people, do you know what older people think? Do you know what their language is? Because we often have a lot of stereotypes about what certain types of people are, what young people want, what older people want. As an older person, I can tell you that, I'm much more interested in skydiving and vegan food than I am in stair lifts and knitting. It's just, I get stair lift. I get things through my letterbox trying to sell me a stair lift. Actually, don't do that. Sell me some roller skates. So our understanding of what an older person is and wants is often stereotypical. So if you're going to pitch to a niche that is not naturally you, it's really, really important that you get out there and talk to real people. and understand what their lives are about.
Can I just ask you a question? We've had a question come through, and it's an interesting question because this was asked a lot at the conference, and I'd be very interested in hearing your opinion. It says, Melinda, in terms of financial investment, how much money would you recommend to start a skincare business?
Okay, well, it depends, again, very much on the level. As I'm sure everyone here that's heard me before knows, I tend to go for, why start a small business when you can start a big business? Because it's just as much effort. But you might have serious restrictions that mean that you need to start a small business. When I'm taking on a client and I want people that are really thinking about building businesses that will replace their jobs, that will bring in a good income, that will get out on the high street, and that will eventually go international. Those are the sort of people that the people that have got the confidence to want that. I won't take anyone on unless they can access £15,000 during the first year.
Okay.
Now, I recently had someone come to me with sort of body shop aspirations, who had £250,000, and actually with that dream, that's a drop in the ocean. Because, if you put yourself out wanting to go out there with a big brand, with a large range of products, you've got to promote all those. You're up against the big boys. You're up against the L'Oreals and the big guys. And that it's not, I was going to say it takes bravery, but it doesn't. It's just foolish in this day and age to try and do that. As I said, there's so many more interesting ways to get to market than following the traditional big brand marketing strategies that people have used in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic because Kirsty and Luke from Pink's Boutique said, you need at least 50,000. And Dominica and Elsie from Clean Beauty Co. now by B Beauty, they said they got their first 50k investment and they blew through that so quickly, just getting their first orders done.
I'm talking about people that are going to work with me, and I'm a great penny pincher, because I think one thing that's really important is to start with what you need, not what you want. Okay, so there are a million glittery objects out there that could, that seem as if they will be a huge help to your business. There are some branding agencies, marketing agencies. There are some very, very expensive resources that you can tap into, which are great. But interestingly, when I started my soap business, I had quite a lot of investment. And if anything, that was a disadvantage. Okay. Because the guys that backed me wanted me to go to all these major agencies and do things in this flash. You don't need to do that anymore. You need to know what you do need to do. And you need to be able to do things in a logical, progressive way. But providing you are creative, and it's all about creative thinking, you can get away with spending a lot less than 50k. Okay. I think the clean guys actually have gone to contract manufacturers and are probably committed to very large runs initially. And I think they have a reasonably sized range of products as well. So there's your budget. There's the 50k gone.
Well, I have quite a few questions popping.
Oh, right. We're already into the questions. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So Callie is asking, can you share an experience of when you got there and sold something that you made before you had all the working pieces together first?
That's very easy to do that. Yeah. I've actually sold a book that I haven't written yet. How does that work? How does that work? Now, this is a really, really useful bit of marketing. I also sold 250,000. I actually sold 250,000 sachets of needlework shampoo before I'd ordered them. Okay, so this is pre-selling. So if you have, the important thing is that you have your formula. You know who's going to produce it for you and what it's going to cost you. You have your packaging in place. You haven't ordered any of this yet, but it's all there ready to go. You can then put a pre-sale out on your website, giving people a discount and saying, I am going to have 1,000 of these. I'm going to sell them at X amount. You know, that I'm only going to have 1,000 by now. So you can pre-sell. Yep. You don't have to have, you can go to a store group with mock-ups of your packaging, samples of your product, and you can sell. In fact, the last thing on earth that you should do is commit to production and buying in large quantities of packaging without verifying that you're going to be able to sell them. And that's why I say this, it is hugely important for you to understand and have a good idea right at the beginning who is going to buy this product. And if you just think gift shops or chemist shops, you're fooling yourself, because you need to know which ones. You need to start chasing down contacts and buyers and finding out who they are and what they want. There is a lot of research involved in this, which brings us back to the time thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Melinda, in your course, when people take your mentoring program, do you discuss time management in detail with them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what I'm really, I like to get people right at the beginning of their journey, because I think most of my clients have found that they would, you know, we're like sheep. We kind of follow these processes that we think we should be following. And this is where I say research is probably not a great idea. And often they save their fees by simply not making a whole load of mistakes that they would have made and commitments that they would have made. So yes, time management. I mean, I'm a big mindset person. That's no secret either, because I do think it's all about you. It's about your ambition. It's about your capabilities. They are equally important when it comes to launching a brand. But as I say, if your passion is skincare and you haven't got the budget and you're fearful of investing in yourself, you don't have to. You could become a formulator. You could teach. You know, there's lots of things you can do with your skincare. Do not involve building a brand. But if you're going to build a brand, you really need to be committed to this, and you have to understand what it's going to take.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have quite a few more questions coming in. Okay. I think Jessie asked, how do we begin to sell our brand before we have a brand ready to launch? I think you probably covered that in your answer previously. Yeah. So the question that's coming through a lot is, Melinda, what are some unique concepts of bringing your brand to market that you have seen?
I've seen quite a few. I mean, I've seen a lot. I mean, there's a lot of internet. You know, God, ladies, you know, you can reach the world now. You've got the world at your fingertips. So it's the same, you know, how do you sell your products to a group of people? Well, how do you get a group of people together to begin with? You know, you can form communities. You've got Instagram. You can do fantastic things on Instagram. But a lot of it is about having a unique message. And that I'm not going to give you now. I'm coming up with unique messages for people every day. But when you want to start to find your unique message, look to yourself, look to your experiences, not just your skincare experiences, look to yourself, look to your contacts, work with something that's authentic to you.
Okay, so I've got an interesting question, actually. What are your thoughts on doing a beauty box to get your products out there?
Yes, I think a lot of people can do these successfully, but you've got to be able to afford to provide very, very cheap stock.
Yeah, and lots of it sometimes.
And lots of it. I mean, one thing that does work quite well is to do an offer whereby people can, in exchange for postage, receive a sample, because nothing sells more or better than having someone actually try the product. Because the one thing that we're missing with internets, if we're setting up as a website business, is the touchy-feely thing. And they actually, you know, a lot of people do need to feel, not that you can unless you're in a major department store, but they need to feel the product and try it out. So even if it's a tiny pot or a 1 ml vial of something, if you can send that out in people's hands, then that would, and you build a community, build an online community, you know, you can build a blog. That blog can become a business all on its own.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so many things that you can do.
One thing that Lorraine and I have learned through being in business is that if you're putting content out there, valuable content, then you build a ready-to-use audience of people. And, you know, a lot of the people who are successful in skincare have done the same thing. So when people tell us, oh, I don't want to blog or I don't want to do that, it's still a way of building a viable platform that shows who you are without having to meet people. So whether you do videos or lives or you know, you're putting your opinions out, it's a way of meeting people virtually. If you just have a product, no one knows anything about what you think or what you're about. So
I mean, it's really interesting. Something happened to me this week. Because when we have an Instagram page or we put our Facebook out, we tend to want to talk about our products. We think that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be talking about and selling our products. But a colleague asked me to like her page, which I did. And it said on the top of the page that she was a success coach, success business coach. Well, you know, I have no idea what her program is. But I was just going down her Facebook page and it was absolutely full of French women in the most exquisite classic clothing. I mean, that's all that seemed to be on the page. And there was sort of cashmere jumpers at $2.5 grand or what have you. And actually, the word success and these images came together to tell me what she did. So they represented, the images she showed represented her brand. They weren't her brand, but they weren't what she did, but they represented the person that was interested in success. So, you know, you could take that concept, you could say, you know, what do people that are into green products interested? They're interested in recycling. They're interested in wonderful natural food. They're interested in health events. So to make a community, you have to touch. It's more effective to touch on every part of their lives rather than hammering away at your skincare products. And obviously you present them, but you don't hammer away at them. You just slot them in and they just fit in beautifully with this person and their aspirations.
Okay, I have another question. Okay, carry on.
No, it's just that there is a science to this. You have to learn how to do this, but if you can master it and do it well, you know, the world's absolutely your oyster.
Yes, yeah, I agree. We have a couple more questions about, so Gabby has asked, which resources do you think we should go for?
In what sense?
In what sense, Gabby? Can you fill us in a little bit more? I'll move on to the next question. Charlotte actually has asked a very interesting question. How much time a week do you think we should dedicate to the business at the beginning?
How much time a week do you have?
Yeah.
No, this is about aligning a business to your lifestyle, because you have to look at what you can comfortably. Is this Charlotte Percival? I don't know.
I can't see her name.
It doesn't matter. I mentioned her because I know she's got a couple of kids. You have to look at, you know, this is your life. You want to get the most you can out of your life. There are things in your life that are going to be more valuable to you than running a business. So you need to right at the beginning, have a really balanced view of how much time you can put into this project without sacrificing other things that are seriously important. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's a good idea to calendar every hour of a week. really, because we all waste tons of time. You know, me included, we're on social media. We take on things that we shouldn't take on. My LinkedIn feature, my current LinkedIn feature is very much about that. So no, that was a feature I did for someone else.
I've seen loads of your dog posts, Melinda, on Facebook.
Yes, my dog. Yeah, that's a different story. So how it's more about how much time can I dedicate to this, and then you do a timeline for your business that takes that into account. Okay. If you can put 7 hours a day, every day in, I know you're serious, but you know, and then you can get things done a hell of a lot quicker. But the fact is, don't compromise your life because of a business.
Yeah. Okay. So Gabby has clarified her question about the resources. It says, you were speaking on staying away from the glittery and expensive resources. I was asking which ones should we be investing in as alternatives, perhaps?
Mentorship. No.
Well, no, it's true. It's helpful. It's massively helpful.
Well, I have a mentor. I mean, you know, it's that person to bounce ideas off and to verify what's right and what's wrong. And it's got to be the right one. And I'm certainly not the right one for everyone. But it's really important to have somebody that you can trust, that you can, you know, take the journey with it. So that's one resource you shouldn't skimp on. Over and beyond that, I mean, forget advertising. I mean, they come knocking on our door saying, you know, we'll give you this great big ad in this fabulous magazine, and we all know that this magazine is fabulous. And the idea as an unknown of being in there is very, very attractive. But the truth is, you've got to advertise in there 5 times before you're even noticed. You know, which is why people, if I know a lot of people on my list are getting cross because they got hundreds of emails about this webinar, but actually the ones that were going to be on it needed reminding. The ones that were irritated by receiving a lot of emails wouldn't have been here anyway. Because they were irritated because it didn't interest them. So this is the whole thing about putting advertising out there. So forget about advertising. There will be a lot of there's a lot of freelance sales agencies that offer to sell your products for you on large commissions, but there's usually a big upfront fee. Looks very, especially with export, it looks very attractive when you first look at it, and if you're finding it hard to open doors. Any propositions that come your way that look attractive, you should verify by exploring the other brands they're handling and the successes that those brands are having by working with them. Okay, so sales resources is one that you shouldn't. Contract manufacturing, a lot of people commit before they should. You know, as I said, you must verify. Don't be tempted to spend the money until you know you've got the sales.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
products have a shelf life. I am a great risk taker and a great believer in taking risks, but they are risks that I have calculated and risks that I have really done some homework on. So don't just go out there and, if you've got the money, I mean, you're actually it's more dangerous if you've got the money, because the temptation is to go out there and get this big, invest a lot of money in branding, go to the best people, you know, whatever, and then find that the concept was wrong right from the beginning. So test and tweak, get out there, get your product, you know, on a very small level, get your products into people's hands, tweak your designs, tweak your packaging, tweak your messaging, do it all before you actually commit to buying product in or making large amounts of product.
That's great advice. Right, we have a couple more questions coming in. So Actually, they're quite interesting ones. So we've got one that says, how many unique concepts should we incorporate? Do we have to incorporate lots, or can we modify and add as we build our brand?
You need one strong message. That's all you need, because the important thing is to be known for that particular niche or scenario. If you have a lot of different messages, you dilute your proposition. I mean, that's slightly, that's kind of about, it's a big one. It's about building a brand, because if you want to build, you're going to put a load of effort into building a brand. So it's, and I've said this before, but it's a very good idea to keep it as generic as possible. So if you take a name like Drunk Elephant, I think they're called, you know, it sounds like a crazy name, but actually that brand with its tribe, you could sell anything to their tribe. You know, because the brand talks to a lifestyle, it doesn't talk to a specific need. So within that, you could have a skincare range that suits the tribe that Drunken Elephant would appeal to. Or even if you just take the name, that gives you some idea. I mean, again, you're going to think that's not going to appeal to all sophisticated people, but actually I like it. I might not be sophisticated, but I like it. So what I'm saying is, if you're building a brand, going forwards, you could actually have lots of different concepts under that brand. But I would get known for one thing. Look at Amazon. You know, Amazon was all about books. That's it. That's where they started. Look at them today. You know, they're taking over the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah? Does that answer that question?
Yeah. I've got an interesting question from Paula. It says, what if blogging is not your thing, or you would rather not expose yourself in such a way? It cannot be the only way. Is it really down to having lots of money to invest, or blogging turning your own person into a brand?
No, it's not at all. You could actually, if you had strong connections, and if you knew where you were going to sell your products, and if you didn't feel you needed to get out there, I mean, getting out there is simply about attracting, forming, you know, making connections that will be interested in buying your products. That's what a blog does. That's what getting out there does. If you already knew, for example, if you worked in a, I don't know, in the food industry, and you had loads of people that you knew would be interested in a brand that was based on coffee, if you like. If you worked in the coffee industry and you brought up, so you've got a ready-made market, you know that you can pitch to that market, and you can do that sort of thing in a pretty small way. Then you could be, you don't need to have a blog. The other thing you could actually do, because if you have a negative, there is always a positive. You can always, any obstacle, you could turn into an advantage. So we're going back to that artist guy again, whose name I can never remember, and who I always bring up in these webinars, the anonymous one, the graffiti guy. Banksy, right. Banksy. You know, Banksy's made a career out of being invisible. You know, so you could actually be really, really clever. And you could be the mystery behind. You could make your brand incredibly mysterious. But, you know, blogging, if you don't like blogging, I would look at why. And I would, if you don't want to, if you feel exposed, consider writing it as if you were someone else. You know, have some fun with it. You don't want to be yourself. Who do you think the person should be that's doing this? Create this mythical person and blog through them. But it is a cheap, massively useful resource for you.
Yeah. And we've got some more questions about time management. About people's time. If they're trying to manage a skincare business, Instagram, a blog, what's the best way of managing a blog and social media to attract people, but not spending the whole day on that? I think that's
that's the D word. That's the D word. Look, if you are working full time, get the message that the only way you're going to build a business is if you delegate. Because there are only, so many hours in a day. You need to be a good organizer. You need to find the right people to help you. And then you need to delegate what needs to be done.
Yeah, it is the only way. Why do you think I'm doing this webinar? I've been delegated to.
Delegated, yeah, absolutely.
No, I like doing the webinars.
No, absolutely. Look, anyway, at any level of business, you should learn to delegate as quickly as possible and understand the value of that, because there are constantly going to be things that you need to do to move your business forward, and you have to be free to spend the time that you do have working on your business, not in your business.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. We're launching a podcast soon, and we had a whole chat with someone doing branding, and they said you have to have time to work on the business and not just in the business, to develop a strategy and a way forward.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's loads of questions, and I'm probably not going to get to all of them, but one of the questions was about, give me a sec. I'm just scrolling down, people, because I've met. Okay. Cynthia had a question about, she has lots of offers by hair salons, spas and wellness centers to carry my products on consignment. So far, I have maintained a policy of wholesale and declined consignment. Is that wise?
Yes. Yes, unless there's absolutely no hesitation there. It's very wise. Unless there is a particular salon that you feel would act as a great shop window for you. It's a really up level one that film stars go to or whatever. And so there are circumstances where it is useful to use a shop space as purely as a promotional tool for you, as opposed to seeing it as a client that's buying off you. But in the large run, consignment is suicide.
Okay, good. So Lynette has asked, how do you find out about finding a good mentor?
Oh, I can't answer that question.
Go on, tell us, Melinda.
I can't answer that question. I can't look. I can only talk about myself. I have a mentor because there's a shift that I'm going to be making next year, and I wanted some help with it, and I felt that I needed objective eyes to help me with that. It's a big job, because if I'm taking on a client, then I am with them on this journey. I am heart and soul in their business. I'm investing my creative energy in their brand, in coming up with a niche for them, in finding a route to market for them, and providing I'm working with them from the beginning. I then feel responsible for their success. Sometimes when people come to me with an idea that they've already an idea that I don't particularly like, or a brand that I don't particularly like, I won't take them on because I don't feel that I can help them with it. So, it's about how I work is I do this because I'm semi-retired. I don't want to start a brand of my own anymore. I've got a million ideas. So I want to work, and I love working with people that are driven and people that really want to succeed. So that's, I love my clients without exception. So you want to find a mentor that's passionate about you and believes totally in what you're doing.
Yeah. And what about, okay, so we've got some more questions about what books and resources would you recommend for people who are looking into starting their own business, I guess, in terms of entrepreneurship?
Starting their own skincare business, particularly, or starting their own business?
Just say, let's say skincare business in this context.
Okay. My favorite book is The Science of Getting Rich, which is a very, very old book written just after the Depression in America. And it's a really good book about mindset. It's designed to get people back on their feet from nothing. And it's a brilliant book. I absolutely love Influence, the book Influence, and the book Contagious, which are both really, really interesting takes on why people are driven to buy things. They're fascinating books in their own right for anybody, but if you're getting into marketing, they're extraordinary books to read.
Okay.
In terms of simply, I'm just trying to think. I've just finished reading a great book, which is about finding your place and getting out there. And the title's gone right out of my head. I will, if it will come back to me, and I'll let you know later in the conversation. So, and the other one I love is Leveraging the Universe, because that teaches you the importance of taking small bites of the elephant and doing things in understanding that absolutely anything is possible, which it absolutely is, and I truly believe that. With the right approach and the right mindset, you can do anything you want to do without any doubt at all.
Sorry, can you repeat that? The Science of Getting Rich, and what was the other one?
Influence, book called Influence, and there's a book called Contagious. Free Range Humans. Free Range Humans is the book that I've just finished reading, which is really interesting.
Free Range Humans.
Yeah. That's a really good book. It talks about making a career, just actually becoming it's more about the products. If you want to start a product business, it is going to keep you in one place because it's products, because it's a physical business. And for some people, it's actually better not to commit to that, but to think about business ideas that will give them the freedom to work anywhere. And Free Range Humans is very much about having the freedom to work from anywhere. It's not directly related to skincare brands, but it does give you some very interesting exercises on how to get out there.
Okay. And
that's what all this is about. You know, the lady that said, I don't like blogging, I don't want to be visible. Do you want to sell stuff? How are you going to be on selling? You know, is this really right for you? You know, why do you want to do this? What's your passion? And if your passion's making skincare, then teach it or formulate. You don't have to do those things then.
Yeah, I'm just writing the book down for people.
Okay,
there's another one. Is, from what's it called? I can't remember what the name of it is. When I remember, I'll message it to everyone. I'm reading it now and I can't remember what it's called. Whoops. Okay. Oh, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, Contagious, Why Things Catch On. Okay, Cynthia's listed them all there. Ilhan is saying thank you.
I think that one of the most important things you should always remember is that your business is a big part of your life and you should enjoy every minute of your life. So, you know, why I wanted to do this webinar is to sort of remind you, you know, to set yourself realistic timelines, to ensure that you have realistic resources, not to put huge pressure on yourselves, because I have watched some of my clients just under the weight of it all. You know, it's usually far more commitment than they expect it to be. Yeah. So that can be changed by stretching your deadline out, you know, taking into control, like the question from Charlotte, how many hours you want to put into it. Nobody's telling you, you don't work for somebody now. They're not telling you how many hours you should put into it. So take control of your life and take control of all the aspects within your business. Can I say, I know you're getting loads of questions here. Can I just say that on my Facebook business group, which is Melinda's business mastermind, skincare business mastermind. I don't know what's my group called.
I'll look it up.
Tomorrow at 4 in the afternoon British Standard Time, I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live, which is just ask me questions. So if we don't get through them today, you can come on my group and bring your questions with you tomorrow, and I'll just answer them for you.
It's Melinda's Business Mastermind.
Ah, right. That's where I am. I knew I could. No wonder I never get home. I don't know where I live.
Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about your program, Melinda. Just recap for everyone how long it is, what the details are, and at what point in their journey can people join you?
Okay, it's a 16-week program. You get a 1-hour Skype every week for those 16 weeks. Sometimes we break it halfway through because it can happen that you're waiting for formulations or you're waiting for designs or whatever, and it seems like you need a gap to catch up with yourself, but it's broadly speaking it's 16 weeks. There are modules, there are for you to fill in, exercises for you to do, actionable steps for you to take. I'm on your back. We set a whole structure for your progress. We work on your niche, we work on your branding, we work on your website, we work on your route to market. It covers it. You've got me holding your hand right through the journey and making sure for the 16 weeks, the first 16 weeks of your journey, and making sure that you're not making any big mistakes, and giving you an experienced view when you have questions and decisions that you want to address. So that's what the program is. I am only taking on 4 people this round, and I've put out an offer that provided I can't even remember the date. I think you've got the date. I wrote it down on a piece of paper and brought the wrong piece of paper in.
So Melinda's offer is live in the offer tab.
Okay. So anyway,
you'll be able to see it.
Okay. Anyway, there's a £350 discount for guys from this group, provided you book a call with me within the next few days, and the time span is on Gemma's offer. Now, you don't have to have had, I do what's called a discovery call. So we have a half-hour free call, which is strictly just to decide whether the program is right for you, because I really don't want to take on anyone that it's not right for. That's not what I'm about. You can ask me questions. So you have to have, and I won't take anyone on until we've had a discovery call. So you would have to, if you book that within the next few days, you will get a £350 discount if we decide to go ahead. But you don't have to have had the session in the next few days, because I know some people will get this on a recording, so they'll have less time.
Yeah, so you'll be sent tomorrow.
Okay.
And you'll have a chance you have 7 days to play.
Great. Any more questions?
There was one more, which we will deal with quickly before we have to say goodbye to everyone, which is from Yolanda, who said, which is better, have a small market niche like women plus 35 with sensitive and tired skin in search of radiance, or have a range of products adapted to each skin type and age and offer a great showcase? That's an interesting question, because I remember Melinda talking about this at the conference when you said that you launched with soaps for all different types of people.
Now, there's various things. This is classic. This is a sort of classic question, and it is why people come to me. You can't afford to create a broad, unless you're very rich. You cannot afford to create a completely broad range of products with different uses. It is a huge, huge mistake. You want to be known to be doing one thing or talking to one need. When you start out, you want to talk to one need and one group of people really, really well. So you want to become the best in your, want to become known as the best in your field in that particular niche. And from that point, you can then build on your brand or build on your range. But if you start with a broad spectrum of products, you are committing suicide before you start.
Yeah, Melinda shared this interesting anecdote about when she launched with loads of different types of soaps, and she had to find loads of different types of market channels to get them to the people that use them, because they were all so different.
Yep, been there and done that. Most of the things I teach are mistakes that I made, you know, and they cost me a lot of money. So, absolutely, yeah. You know, and the shiny object thing, you buy what you need rather than what you want. The simple analogy to that is if you've ever been in a supermarket without a list and how much you actually come out with. I mean, it's phenomenal. You know, we do this all the time. We're attracted by things that present themselves to us. And as soon as you announce that you're in business, an awful lot of things are going to present themselves to you. And a lot of it's going to be about send me free product as well. Which you need to make a commercial decision about.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and probably one that we could have an entire webinar about.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, I think we're going to have to close down or shut down and say goodbye. So thank you very much for joining us, Melinda.
You're welcome. Lovely to talk to you, and great job with the conference.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm sure you've seen on our Facebook page or Instagram page and everywhere around that we had a conference recently, and it went really well. And so hopefully lots of you will join us next year. Callie, I hope you get over from the States and into the UK and come and join us at the conference, because you would be a great participant. So you will be emailed a replay of this webinar, and you'll have 7 days to watch it. And Melinda's offer is in the offer section on this tab. And if you have any questions or queries for any of the Formula Botanica team, just email us at hello@formulabotanica.com or check out the website at formulabotanica.com. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Lorraine, for helping out with all the tech issues in the beginning.
Thanks, Lorraine.
And thank you everyone for being so patient with my sound problem. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us, and yeah, hopefully we'll advertise another webinar soon.
Great, lovely to see everybody.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.